Hey guys, this is Pastor John from Life Church at Ardsley Park. And over the last few days, you've probably seen on the news that the world looks like it is in chaos, especially here in the United States. And you've probably run through a gambit of emotions of embarrassment, frustration, sadness, confusion as to how we're supposed to react to what's going on. And so the question is, what should we do as Christians? And how should we talk about these things? And I believe one of the biggest difficulties in what we're experiencing is that so many people on both sides of the aisle have put their hope in political systems or political leaders. And as Christians, that's not where our hope comes from. In fact, today, I'm not going to do any of the fun cutscenes or the tricky things with my video. I'm just going to sit here and we're going to read the Bible together, and I hope that that's encouraging to you. Because there's this story, and it's found in the book of John chapter 6, and it tells us about Jesus feeding 5,000 men, and that means there were also women and children, so lots of people, 15, 20,000 people, and he does it with just a few loaves of bread and some fish. And it's this beautiful miracle of God. And so people who have seen Jesus' ministry start to develop get excited about who he is. And it says this right here at the end of when Jesus finishes up doing this wonderful miracle. When the people saw the sign he had done, they said, "This truly is the prophet who has come into the world." Then get this. Therefore, when Jesus realized that they were about to come and take him by force to make him king, he withdrew again to the mountain by himself. Think about that for a moment. Jesus had done this wonderful miracle, and there was an oppressive government. And so the reaction of people was to put their hope into what Jesus would do with their political systems, that he was going to change the government. And so they were excited to see what would Jesus do if he was in control of the government. And yet Jesus, his reaction to that was to withdraw, to pull himself away. And the question is why? Jesus pulled away because that's not what he came to do. That's not how he came to save us. In fact, if we keep reading down in that chapter, Jesus goes on to begin to describe how he was going to save us, how he was going to change the world. And he said it in this way. It's kind of strange. He said, I'm going to ask people to eat my flesh and drink my blood, which if you're not a Christian, I know that sounds really weird. But Jesus was saying this. He wanted us to take on who he was, to take on what he was giving to, that it would become a part of who we are, and that he would live in us and we would live through him. But as he said it, there was so much confusion about what Jesus was here to do and why he was here to do it, that it actually says the crowds left him and everybody abandoned him. And so Jesus, after having these 5,000 men, probably around 20,000 people ready to make him king, he's left there standing with about 12 of his disciples. And it says he looks at them and he says, "Are you going to abandon me too?" And their response is, "Where else would we go?" Friends, as we look at the world around us, as we look at the confusion of the world around us, the question is, are we putting our hope in Jesus? Or do we think that there's somewhere else that we should go? Will we be like the 12 who will stand and say, look, the word of Jesus, the proclamation, the salvation isn't about changing a political system, and we all have our opinions about what that should be and how it could best be run. I get that. But where's our hope? And where are we going to place our joy? Do we really believe that if people on both sides of the aisles would put their hope and their trust and their faith in Jesus, that it would bring us together even when we might still have disagreements? Oh, friends, we need to, on both sides of this, make sure that we're calling sin sin, and that we're acting in such a way that brings honor and glory to Christ. I got to be honest, my heart has hurt from what I've seen in the world around us because there's so much division amongst God's people. And that's not how God said that we should live in this world. In fact, Jesus says, you know how people are going to know that you're my disciples? By the way you have love for one another. And so I got to ask, as people look at our lives, do they see that we have love for one another? And listen, I understand love is not just about telling somebody that they're right. Sometimes love is having those difficult conversations where we disagree. It's having those frustrating conversations where we won't see eye to eye, but we do it in a way that we respect and we appreciate and we learn from each other in our perspectives. And so I don't know what's going to happen in the United States. I don't know what's going to happen in the world. I don't understand a lot of the chaos, but I do know this. We have a hope in Christ and a responsibility that if you call yourself a Christian, that we got to live in such a way that we represent what Christ means to us. And that means he came to live inside of us, to be different in us. May we live as people with hope, not fearful of what might happen or what we might lose, but living in excitement to know what we have already gained in Christ. That's all I have for us today, and I hope it's encouraging to you.